Welcome back to RNG Small Ball. I'm your host, and before we get into today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe, and drop a comment below. It genuinely helps the show grow, and I do read every comment, so let me know what you think about what we're discussing today. Alright, today's topic is NBA scoring. Specifically the fact that what we are watching this season is unlike anything we have seen in quite some time. The individual performances, the team totals, the pace, all of it is trending in a direction that I think deserves a real thorough conversation. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through the biggest individual performances, talk about what is driving all of this, and figure out what it actually means for the game going forward. Let's start with the most obvious place to start, which is Bam Adebayo's 83-point game on March 10th against the Washington Wizards. If you haven't watched it yet, go find it, because it is one of the most strangest and most remarkable things I've seen in a long time of watching basketball. To understand why it was so surprising, you have to know who Bam Adebayo is as a player. He is the Miami Heat starting center and captain. He's a two-time All-Star, a former All-NBA defender, and one of the best rim protectors in the league. He's known as a two-way player, not a scorer. His career average coming into this season was around 18 points per game. His career high before March 10th was 41 points. His season high this year coming into that game was 32. So when you think about Bam Adebayo, you are not thinking about a guy who is about to go for 83. The Wizards, on the other hand, had lost 9 consecutive games going into that night. They were 16-47, and they were clearly in full tank mode, playing their young guys, not prioritizing competitiveness. That context matters, and we will come back to it. But here's what actually happened in the game. Bam scored 31 points in the first quarter. The entire Wizards team had 29 of that. By halftime, he had 43, which by itself would have been a new career high. He came back in the third quarter and kept scoring, and by the end of 3 quarters, he had 62. In the fourth quarter, Eric Spoelstra, the Heat head coach, made the decision to keep him in and go for it. His teammates started intentionally fouling the Wizards on defense to get possessions back and get Bam to the free throw line. The Wizards were triple and quadruple teaming him in the paint. He was getting fouled, going to the line, and making free throws. With about a minute left, he passed 81 and surpassed Kobe Bryant. He finished at 83, which is now the second highest single-game scoring total in NBA history, behind only Wilt Chamberlain's 100 in 1962. His final stat line: 20 of 43 from the field, 7 of 22 from 3, and 36 of 43 from the free throw line. He set the all-time NBA records for free throws made and free throws attempted in a single game. He is the first player in league history to make 25 free throws and hit 5 three-pointers in the same game. After the final buzzer, he went into the stands and hugged his mother Marilyn, and he was visibly emotional. He talked about Kobe afterward, and said he just kept thinking about what Kobe would say to him, which, given that Kobe held the record he just broke, was a pretty meaningful thing to hear. Now, the controversy. And there is real controversy here that I do not want to just brush past. The 43 free throw attempts are the obvious talking point. That is an absurd number. There were players in this league who did not attempt 43 free throws in entire months this season. The intentional fouling by his own teammates to get him extra possessions late in the game is something that felt unusual and that a lot of people were uncomfortable with. Jason Williams said he probably did not shoot 43 free throws in a full season at one point in his career. Gordon Hayward said it made the league feel like a pickup game. Robert Ory said it did not feel like the game was being respected. Coach Spoelstra, for his part, acknowledged that the conditions were unusual, called it a Tuesday night against a team that is not playing for anything, and essentially said it was a carpe diem situation. Those criticisms are fair, but here is where I land on it. He still had to go out there and make those shots. 36 of 43 from the free throw line at that volume, after already playing 40-plus minutes of physical basketball, is genuinely pretty difficult. Giannis Antetokounmpo said it best when he pointed out that nobody remembers how Wilt scored 100. All they remember is 100. In 30 years, all people will talk about is 83. And I think that's basically right. The number is in the record books, and it is real. 9 days after Bam's 83, Luka Doncic went into that same building, Kaseya Center in Miami, and scored 60 points in a Lakers game. I want to be clear about something up front. This one had zero of the controversy that Bam's game had. This was a clean, legitimate, dominant performance against a playoff-caliber team, and it might have actually been the more impressive of the two. The Lakers traveled to Miami and landed at 4 o'clock in the morning. Luka Doncic did not care. He went 18 of 30 from the field, 9 of 17 from 3, and 15 of 19 from the free throw line. Added 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 steals. The Heat crowd, a home crowd, was chanting MVP for him in the fourth quarter. That is how good he was. He went to the line needing one free throw to reach 60. Missed the first one, stepped back, smiled, and calmly hit the second. The Lakers won 134 to 126. It was the first time the Lakers had a 60-point score since Kobe Bryant's farewell game in April of 2016. It was also the highest scoring game ever by a visiting player at the Kaseya Center. He became the first player in NBA history to record at least 60 points, at least 5 steals, and at least 9 three-pointers in a single game. Magic Johnson called him the most unguardable player in the NBA afterward, and Kevin Durant agreed. And the context around that game makes it even more remarkable. 7 days before the 60-point performance, Luka had scored 51 points against the Chicago Bulls in a 142 to 130 Lakers win on March 12th. Over his last 8 games at that point, he was averaging 40.9 points per game. He leads the entire NBA in scoring this season at 33.4 points per game, and he now has 3 career 60-point games, which puts him alongside Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, James Harden, and Damian Lillard as the only players in league history with 3 or more 60-point games. That list is 7 names long. Luka Doncic is 27 years old, and he is on it. What makes Luka so hard to stop is that there is genuinely no clean way to defend him. He is 6'7" and around 230 pounds, with point guard skills and the ability to create his own shot from anywhere on the floor. His step-back three is one of the most automatic shots in the game. He can post off smaller guards, he can drive past bigger forwards, and his vision as a passer means that if you double him, you are giving up something. Teams have been trying to figure out a reliable way to contain him for several years now, and nobody has cracked it. On a night when he's feeling it, like March 19th, there is simply nothing you can do. Here is the thing though. As wild as those 2 performances are, they do not exist in a vacuum. This entire season has been a historically high-scoring one, and the individual performances and team totals reflect that. Anthony Edwards put up 55 points this season for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning league MVP, is averaging 31 points per game on 54% from the field. We have had 12 different players score at least 50 points in a single game this season. The all-time record for most 50-point games in a single NBA season is 14. Set in both 2021-2022 and 2022-2023. We are chasing that record again with games still to play. The team totals tell the same story. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Utah Jazz 147 to 111 this past Wednesday. That is a 258-point game. The Philadelphia 76ers beat the Sacramento Kings 139 to 118 on Thursday night. The Charlotte Hornets put up 130 points on Friday. These are not playoff elimination games or high-stakes matchups. These are regular weeknight games in March. Looking at the scores from around the league right now, 120 plus is basically the baseline expectation for a competitive game. You see a final score in the low hundreds, and it almost feels like something went wrong. So what is driving all of this? There are a few things happening at the same time. The first and most significant factor is floor spacing created by the three-point line. When you have 4 or sometimes 5 players who can shoot from 3, the defense cannot collapse on any one player the way they used to. For Bam specifically, when the Heat had shooters stationed around the perimeter, even when the Wizards were putting 2 and 3 bodies on him in the paint, there was simply not enough defensive attention to go around. For Luka, the spacing allows him to operate in open space off the dribble, which is where he is at his most dangerous. The entire game has been restructured around the idea that every player on the floor needs to be a threat from distance, and that restructuring has created individual scoring opportunities that did not exist in earlier eras. The second factor is pace. Teams are pushing the ball faster than they ever have, which generates more possessions per game. More possessions means more scoring opportunities. It's a simple equation, but the compounding effect of it over the course of a season or even a single game is significant. A team that plays at a faster pace is not just scoring more, they are also creating more individual counting style opportunities for their best players. The third factor is the foul rules. The NBA has, over time, increasingly protected offensive players from physical contact. Getting to the free throw line is easier now than it was 15 years ago, and the knock-on effect of that is that elite offensive players can essentially manufacture extra possessions and extra points by drawing fouls. Bam's 43 free throw attempts in a single game is the extreme end of this trend. But it is the same underlying dynamic that you see every night across the league, just compressed into a single historic performance. The fourth factor is the talent level. It's easy to look at rule changes and spacing and pace and conclude that the scoring explosion is somehow artificial, but that undersells how good these players actually are. Luka Doncic's step-back three is a genuinely difficult shot that requires elite footwork, balance, and touch. Bam Adebayo's ability to operate in the post, attack off the dribble, and get to the line is the result of years of skill development. The conditions of the modern game are favorable to scorers, but you still have to be an exceptional player to take advantage of those conditions the way these guys do. The question I keep coming back to is what this all means for how we evaluate performances and records going forward. Wilt's 100 was once thought to be so far out of reach that it was basically treated as an untouchable artifact of a completely different era of basketball. Kobe's 81 felt the same way for 20 years. Now we have Bam at 83, and the honest question is whether any individual scoring record is actually safe. My view is that Wilt's 100 is still safe, but not because it is physically impossible to approach. It is safe because the specific set of circumstances that would need to align, a historically elite scorer on a great night against a bad team, and a blowout where his teammates are fully committed to feeding him the ball and manufacturing extra possessions, are hard to replicate consistently. Bam's 83 was essentially the perfect storm, but if that perfect storm can happen once, it can happen again. What is more likely and what we are already seeing is that 50 and 60-point games become less rare. Luka's 3 career 60-point games are a preview of what this era of basketball produces. The players are more skilled, the conditions are more favorable, and the ceilings for individual performances keep getting raised. That is worth paying attention to. Alright, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of RNG Small Ball. We covered Bam Adebayo's 83-point game and everything that went into it. Luka Doncic's 60-point performance 9 days later in the same building, and the broader trend of scoring across the league this season. These are historically significant performances, and I think it is important to understand not just the numbers, but the context around them. As always, make sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment. Let me know where you stand on the Bam debate, whether the circumstances change how you see the record, or whether you think Luka is the most unguardable player in the league right now. I want to hear your takes. Thank you for listening to RNG Small Ball, and I will catch you in the next one.